Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract success effortlessly while others struggle no matter how hard they work? What if I told you that the secret to wealth, influence, and personal power isn't about luck, it's about mindset? Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful books ever written on success, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. First published in 1937, this timeless classic has inspired millions to unlock their potential, overcome fear, and create the life they truly desire. In this video, I'll break down the 13 principles of success from the book so you can start applying them to your life today.
Think and Grow
Let's
Rich by
get started.
Napoleon Hill, a book that has changed lives for nearly a century. Chapter 1, Introduction. This isn't just about money. It's about mindset, about how thoughts become things, about how desire, when mixed with persistence and faith, can shape your destiny. The story begins with Edwin C. Barnes, a man who wanted to work with Thomas Edison. He had no money, no formal education, no connections, but he had something far more powerful, a burning desire. He showed up at Edison's office looking like a tramp, but thinking like a king. And eventually, he became Edison's business partner. Not because of luck, but because he refused to accept anything less than what he truly wanted. That's the power of thought turned into action. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine you want to build a house. You don't start by randomly stacking bricks. First, you create a blueprint. Then you gather materials. You follow the plan step by step. Without that initial vision, nothing gets built. In life, it's the same. Every great achievement starts as an idea, a thought, a desire so strong it pushes you forward. Hill tells us up front, all riches begin with an idea. Here's a key takeaway from this chapter. You already have half the secrets to success because you now have the desire. The other half is learning how to use it. Andrew Carnegie once told Hill that the formula for success was hidden in the experiences of over 500 of the wealthiest men of his time. That research became this book, a roadmap to wealth, influence, and lasting achievement. Now, here's the reflection question for you. What is your biggest desire right now? Not what others expect from you, but what do you deeply want? Don't rush your answer. This will guide everything else. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical example. Say you're starting a small online business. You've got a great idea, but no money or experience yet. You could wait until the perfect moment, but that rarely comes. Instead, you take action. You research, you reach out, you make mistakes, you adjust. Over time, you build momentum, not because you were perfect, but because you were persistent. That's the essence of this chapter. Desire is the spark. Action keeps the fire going. One final insight from this chapter. Thoughts are things, especially when they're backed by purpose, persistence, and passion. They carry energy. They shape reality. So ask yourself, are you ready to turn your thoughts into things, into results, into success? As we wrap up this introduction, remember this. You're holding the key to your future. Whether you're starting from scratch or building on existing success, this book gives you the tools, one principle at a time. Next, we'll dive into Chapter 2, Desire, where you'll learn how to ignite the fuel that powers everything else. Before moving on, take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I ready to commit to my goal? Am I willing to take action even when it's uncomfortable? If the answer is yes, then Chapter let's keep 2, going. desire. Welcome back. In this chapter, we dive into the very first step on the path to riches, desire. Napoleon Hill calls it the starting point of all achievement, and he means it literally. Every great success story you've ever heard began with one thing: a burning want, a desire so strong that it turned into action, persistence, and eventually results. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who dreams of becoming a chef. They love food. They imagine opening their own restaurants, serving amazing dishes, and building a loyal customer base. But if that dream stays just as a passing thought, never written down, never planned, never pursued, then it remains nothing more than a fantasy. But what happens when that person decides to take it seriously? They start by researching recipes. Then they enroll in cooking classes. They work in restaurants, learn from mentors, and slowly build skills. Eventually, they open that restaurant, not because they were lucky, but because they had a clear, burning desire that led them forward. That's the power of desire. It turns dreams into direction. Hill tells us a powerful story about Edwin C. Burns, a man who wanted to become a partner in Thomas Edison's company. He didn't have money or formal education, but he had a burning desire. He traveled across the country with almost no resources, finally landing a job at Edison's office, not in the position he wanted, but close enough to make his dream happen. Years later, he became Edison's business partner, not because of luck, but because he refused to settle for anything less than what he truly desired. So here's a key takeaway. Desire is not just wanting something. It's wanting it so badly that you're willing to change your habits, your schedule, even your relationships to achieve it. And that brings us to a reflection question for you. What is the one thing you want so much that you'd be willing to change your habits, your schedule, even your relationships to achieve it? Now, here's how Hill says you can turn that desire into action. He gives 6 practical steps, and I encourage you to write these down or save them somewhere visible. Step 1, decide exactly what you want. Be specific. Not, I want to be rich, but I want to earn X dollars per month through my business. Step 2, create a plan and start acting on it immediately. Even if it's imperfect, action builds momentum. Step 3, write your goal down clearly. This makes it real. It moves it from abstract thoughts into concrete intention. Step 4, read it aloud every day, twice if possible. This reinforces your belief and keeps your mind focused. Step 5, believe in yourself. You must believe deep down that you will achieve your goal, even before you see proof. Step 6, stay flexible. If your first plan doesn't work, adjust, but don't stop until you reach your goal. Now, let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Imagine you're a college student with a part-time job and big ambitions. You want to start your own online business, but right now you're overwhelmed with school, work, and life. What would desire look like in your life? Maybe it means waking up an hour earlier to study marketing. Maybe it means saying no to weekend plans so you can work on your idea. Maybe it means investing your savings into a course instead of a new phone. Desire isn't always countable, but it's always worth it. One final insight from this chapter. Desire must be mixed with faith and persistence. Without those two ingredients, desire alone fades away. So ask yourself, do I truly believe I can achieve this? Am I ready to keep going even when things get hard? Before we move on, let's recap. Desire is a spark that starts every journey to success. It must be clear, specific, and backed by action. Writing it down and repeating it daily strengthens its power. Faith and persistence are essential companions to desire. As we wrap up this chapter, I want you to take a moment and write down your biggest desire today. Don't overthink it. Just write it out and read it out loud.
Chapter 3, Faith, the second step on the path to riches. Welcome to Chapter 3, Faith, the second step on the path to riches. If desire is the spark that starts your journey, then faith is the fuel that keeps it going. Napoleon Hill describes faith as the head of the spiritual assets department. It's what gives your desire energy, direction, and staying power. Without faith, even the strongest desire can fade into nothing. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine two people who both want to start a business. The first person has a great idea, but every time something goes wrong, like a missed sale or a technical glitch, they panic, they doubt themselves, they lose sleep. Eventually, they give up. The second person faces the exact same problems, but they believe in their idea. They trust that setbacks are temporary. They keep going, and over time, they succeed. Not because they were luckier, but because they had faith. That's the difference faith makes. Napoleon Hill tells us that faith isn't more than just belief. It's belief so strong it becomes a state of mind. It must be cultivated, repeated, reinforced until it becomes your default way of thinking. And here's how you build it. Start with desire, add knowledge, mix in imagination, use autosuggestion. That's the process of talking to yourself in a way that builds confidence and clarity. Then act consistently, because action builds proof, and proof strengthens faith. Now, here's a reflection question for you. What do I truly believe about my ability to achieve my goal? Be honest, because whatever answer comes to mind, that's your current level of faith. And the good news? You can grow it, just like a muscle. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're launching an online course. You've put in weeks of work creating content, designing your website, and promoting your launch. But when the first week passes and only a few people sign up, doubt creeps in. This is where faith steps in. Instead of getting up, you remind yourself why you started. You review your plan. You adjust your marketing. You reach out to early students for feedback. And slowly, things begin to turn around because you believed before the results showed up. One final insight from this chapter. Faith isn't blind optimism. It's informed confidence built through preparation, persistence, and positive mental attitude. You don't just hope things will work out. You prepare, act, and expect success. Before we move on, let's recap. Faith is essential to turning desire into reality. It grows stronger with consistent thoughts and action. It must be reinforced daily through affirmation and visualization. Faith without action fades, but faith combined with effort creates miracles. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, do I truly believe
I can achieve what I desire? If not, what small step can I take today
Welcome to
to
Chapter
strengthen
4,
my
Auto-Suggestion, the third step on the path to riches. So far, we've covered desire, the spark, and faith, the fuel. Now, we're diving into the method that connects them, auto-suggestion. This is how you talk to yourself in a way that builds belief, clarity, and action. Napoleon Hill calls it the medium through which you influence your subconscious mind. In simpler terms, it's the voice inside your head that either lifts you up or holds you back. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine two athletes preparing for a big race. Both are equally skilled, both have trained hard, but one spends time every morning visualizing success. They imagine crossing the finish line first, feeling strong, hearing the crowd cheer. The other athlete doubts themselves. They worry about failure, replaying worst-case scenarios in their mind. On race day, who do you think performs better? The one who fed their mind with positive suggestions, because the brain doesn't know the difference between what's imagined vividly and what's real. That's the power of auto-suggestion. Hill tells us that our thoughts become things, especially when repeated often enough. That means if you constantly tell yourself, I can't, your mind believes it. But if you say, I am capable, I will find a way, or I am becoming successful, your actions start to match those beliefs. Here's how he puts it. You may voluntarily direct and control your thoughts, but whether voluntary or involuntary, your thoughts go to work on the principle of auto-suggestion and translate themselves into physical reality. Now here's a reflection question for you. What do I usually say to myself when I'm alone? Am I my own best coach or my worst critic? Because whatever words you repeat most often, those shape your mindset, your energy, and your results. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're preparing for an important job interview. One version of you says, I hope they like me. I just need to get lucky. Another version says, I'm prepared. I'm confident. I deserve this opportunity. Which version walks into that room with more presence? Which one speaks with clarity and conviction? Exactly. Autosuggestion isn't magic, it's mental programming. And the good news is, you can reprogram your mind anytime. One final insight from this chapter. Your environment influences your autosuggestions. If you spend time around negative people, you'll absorb their language and mindset. But if you choose uplifting company and fill your ears with empowering content, your subconscious starts working for you instead of against you. Before we move on, let's recap. Autosuggestion is how you communicate with your subconscious mind. The words you repeat most often shape your beliefs and behavior. Positive self-talk builds confidence, while negative self-talk creates doubt. You can use autosuggestion daily to reinforce desire, faith, and persistence. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, what affirmation can I repeat every morning to build stronger belief in myself and my goals?
5. Specialized knowledge, the fourth step on the path to riches. So far, we've covered desire, faith, and autosuggestion. Now we're diving into something just as powerful, knowledge. But not just any kind of knowledge. Napoleon Hill makes a clear distinction between general knowledge and specialized knowledge, the kind that actually leads to wealth and success. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine two people who both want to start a digital marketing business. The first person spends hours reading random blogs, watching YouTube videos, and jumping from one course to another. They know a little bit about everything, but can't convert that into results. The second person identifies exactly what they need to learn: copywriting, SEO, and email marketing, and dive deep into those areas. They master the skills that directly serve their goal. Within months, they're landing clients and building income. That's the difference between general knowledge and specialized knowledge. Hill tells us that knowledge alone is not power. It only becomes power when organized and applied with a definite purpose. That's why so many people read books, take courses, and attend seminars, but never see real change. They collect information without turning it into action. Here's how he puts it. Knowledge is only potential power until it has been organized into definite plans of action. Now, here's a reflection question for you. What specific knowledge do I need to achieve my main goal? Be honest. If your answer is vague, like, I need to learn more about business, then it's time to get more specific. Because specialized knowledge doesn't mean knowing everything. It means knowing exactly what you need to succeed in your chosen field. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're launching an online coaching business. General knowledge would be understanding motivation, mindset, and self-help. Specialized knowledge would include things like creating effective sales funnels, designing high-converting offers, and mastering client communication. Which one do you think will help you earn your first paying client? Exactly. Specialized knowledge gives you leverage because it's focused, actionable, and goal-oriented. One final insight from this chapter. You don't have to learn everything yourself. You can purchase knowledge, either through mentors, courses, or by surrounding yourself with people who already have what you want. This is part of your mastermind group, people who fill the gaps in your own expertise. Before we move on, let's recap. Specialized knowledge is targeted, practical, and directly tied to your goals. It becomes power only when organized and applied with purpose. You don't need to know everything, just what's necessary to move forward. Surrounding yourself with experts helps you gain knowledge faster. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, what's the one skill or piece of knowledge I need to learn next to move closer to
imagination, the fifth step on the path to riches. So far, we've covered desire, faith, autosuggestion, and specialized knowledge. Now we're entering what Napoleon Hill calls the workshop of the mind. This is where ideas are born, shaped, and turned into reality. Imagination is not just daydreaming. It's the creative power that turns thought into action. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine two inventors trying to create a better flashlight. The first one sticks to what already exists. They make slight improvements, but nothing truly new. The second one lets their imagination run wild. They picture something completely different, maybe a flashlight powered by body heat or one that charges through movement. That second inventor isn't just dreaming, they're creating, and often those wild ideas lead to real innovation. That's the difference between synthetic and creative imagination, and both are important. Hill explains that there are two types of imagination. One, synthetic imagination. This rearranges old concepts into new combinations. Most inventions and business strategies come from this kind of thinking. Two, creative imagination. This is more powerful. It connects you directly to insight, intuition, even what some call inspiration. This is where breakthroughs happen.
Here's how he puts it. The imagination is the workshop of the human mind, where all plans are created. Now, here's a reflection question for you. When was the last time you allowed yourself to dream without limits, not just solving small problems, but imagining something bold, exciting, and completely new in your life or work? Because imagination is where your future begins. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're running a small online store. You hit a plateau. Sales aren't growing, marketing costs are rising, and you're stuck. One way to break through is to use your imagination. Instead of just tweaking prices or ads, you imagine an entirely new experience. Maybe a membership club, personalized recommendations, or a storytelling campaign that build emotional connection with your audience. That imaginative leap could be the key to unlocking growth. One final insight from this chapter. Your imagination becomes stronger with practice, just like a muscle. The more you use it, the more powerful it gets. Hill encourages readers to set aside time every day to visualize their goals, play with ideas, and explore possibilities, even if they don't seem realistic at first. Because sometimes the most unrealistic idea today becomes tomorrow's reality. Before we move on, let's recap. Imagination is the mental workshop where ideas become plans. Synthetic imagination mixes old ideas into new solutions. Creative imagination opens the door to intuition and innovation. And your imagination grows stronger the more you use it. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, what would my life look like if I gave myself full permission
Welcome
to
to
dream
Chapter 7,
without
Organized Planning, the sixth step on your path to riches. So far, we've covered desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, and imagination. Now it's time to take all those powerful ideas and turn them into action through a clear, organized plan. Because desire without planning is just a daydream. Pause for 2 seconds. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine two entrepreneurs who both want to start an online course business. The first one has a strong desire, some knowledge, and even a few great ideas. But they jump from task to task, recording videos, building a website, reaching out to influencers with no structure or schedule. They feel overwhelmed, make slow progress, and eventually lose momentum. The second person starts the same way, but creates a detailed plan. They break the project into small steps, assign deadlines, and follow through methodically. Within months, they launch their course and start making sales. That's the power of organized planning. Pause for 2 seconds. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Napoleon Hill tells us that organized planning is how desire turns into reality. It's not enough to have a burning desire or a brilliant idea. You need a roadmap, a system, a way to move forward consistently, even when motivation fades. Here's how he puts it. Desire becomes more than a wish when it is supported by a definite plan. Pause for 2 seconds. Now, here's a reflection question for you. Do I currently have a written plan for achieving my main goal? If not, don't worry. This chapter will help you build one. But if your answer is yes, ask yourself another question. Am I actually following that plan, or is it sitting in a drawer collecting dust? Because a plan only works if you use it. Pause for 2 seconds. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're launching a new fitness coaching program. You know what you want, desire, you believe in your ability, faith, you've studied nutrition and training, specialized knowledge, and you've imagined how the program could look. But without a plan, like creating content, setting up your website, scheduling client calls, nothing gets done. So you create a 30-day launch plan. Each week has a focus: content creation, branding, marketing, and enrollment. You set daily tasks and track your progress. Suddenly, your dream feels doable. That's organized planning in action. Pause for 2 seconds. One final insight from this chapter: Hill emphasizes that plans should be flexible. If something isn't working, you adjust, but you never stop moving forward. Persistence and planning go hand in hand. He also says that the best plans are created with the help of a mastermind group, people you trust to give feedback, support, and accountability. Pause for 2 seconds. Before we move on, let's recap. Organized planning is how you turn desire, faith, and imagination into results. A good plan includes specific steps, deadlines, and accountability. Plans should be reviewed regularly and adjusted when needed. Working with others increases clarity and keeps you on track. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, what's the next action step in
Welcome
my
to Chapter
plan,
8,
and when will I complete
Decision,
it?
the seventh step on your path to riches. So far, we've built a powerful foundation. We've awakened desire, fueled it with faith, programmed our minds through auto-suggestion, gained specialized knowledge, used imagination to create vision, and laid out an organized plan. Now it's time for the moment of truth, making a decision. Because desire without decision is just a wish. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine two people who both want to start their own business. The first person has been thinking about it for years. They read books, watch courses, talk about ideas, but never actually launch anything. Their dream stays stuck in the planning phase. The second person also reads and plans, but at some point they make a firm decision. I'm doing this. That single moment changes everything. They set a launch date, they commit, and no matter what happens, they follow through. That's the power of decision. Napoleon Hill tells us that undecided minds attract failure like a magnet. Indecision keeps you stuck in analysis paralysis. But when you make a clear, definite decision, especially one backed by burning desire, you activate the forces of the universe to support you. Here's how he puts it. The world makes way for the man who knows where he is going. Now, here's a reflection question for you. When was the last time I made a strong, final decision and followed through? Not a half-hearted choice, but a full commitment, even if it scared you a little? Because that's the kind of decision that changes lives. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you've been thinking about switching careers. You've wanted to leave your job for months, maybe even years, but every time you get close to quitting, you hesitate. "Oh, what if I can't find something better? What if I fail?" One day you decide, not tentatively, but definitively, that you're leaving. You give yourself a deadline, you update your resume, you reach out to contacts. Suddenly, opportunities appear. People respond differently to you because you've shifted your energy from doubt to decision. That's how the mind works. Once you decide, momentum begins. One final insight from this chapter. Hill says that procrastination is the enemy of decision. It creeps in when fear or uncertainty shows up. That's why successful people don't wait until they feel ready. They act anyway. He gives the example of Henry Ford, who didn't let lack of knowledge stop him. He decided to build cars and figured it out along the way. Before we move on, let's recap. Before we move on, let's recap. Decision is the turning point between thought and action. Procrastination kills progress while decisive action builds momentum. A firm decision activates your subconscious mind to support your goal. Fear and doubt will always show up, but they don't get to make the call. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, what decision have I been putting off that could change everything?
Welcome to Chapter 9, Persistence, the 8th step on your path to riches. So far, we've built a powerful foundation: desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, and decision. Now comes the force that turns all of those into real-world results: persistence. Because even the best plan in the world won't work if you give up too soon. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine two hikers trying to reach the top of a mountain. The first one starts strong but gives up when the trail gets steep. They think, maybe this isn't for me. Turn around and go back down. The second person faces the same challenges: exhaustion, bad weather, sore legs, but keeps going, one slow step at a time. Eventually, they make it to the peak and enjoy the view that only persistence can earn. That's how success works. It doesn't always go to the strongest or the smartest. It goes to the one who refuses to quit. Napoleon Hill tells us a powerful story about Edwin C. Barnes, the man who wanted to become Thomas Edison's business partner. He didn't succeed because he was the most qualified. He succeeded because he refused to accept defeat. He stayed in the game long enough for opportunity to knock, and when it did, he was ready. Here's how Hill puts it: persistent effort, uninterrupted by a purpose, becomes more than a wish. It becomes a power. Now, here's a reflection question for you. What goal have I given up on or am close to giving up on that might still be within my reach? Sometimes the difference between failure and success is just one more try. Now, let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're trying to grow your online business. You've launched a product, but sales are slow. Your first ad campaign flops. Then the second, and the third. You start to doubt yourself. Maybe this idea isn't working. Maybe I should try something else. But then you remember, every successful entrepreneur has faced rejection, setbacks, and disappointment. So you adjust your strategy, improve your messaging, and keep going. And finally, it clicks. That's the power of persistence. One final insight from this chapter. Hill says that persistence must be backed by a definite knowledge, knowing exactly what you want, why you want it, and how you'll get it. That clarity fuels your motivation and helps you push through when things get tough. He also lists 6 key factors that build persistence. 1, a definite purpose supported by burning desire. 2, a clear plan of action. 3, a positive mental attitude. 4, the habit of doing more than you're paid for. 5, accurate knowledge of your subject. 6, cooperation with others, your mastermind group. And before we move on, let's recap. Persistence is the bridge between planning and achievement. Success often comes just after the point where most people quit. Setbacks are not failures, they're feedback. With the right mindset and support, anyone can develop persistence. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, am I willing to keep going even if it takes longer than I hope? The power of the mastermind, the 9th step on your path to riches. So far, we've built a strong foundation with desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination,
organized planning, decision, and persistence. Now it's time to multiply your power by working with others. Napoleon Hill calls the mastermind principle the most powerful force known to humankind, and he means it literally. This isn't just about teamwork. It's about intentional collaboration that amplifies your thoughts, energy, and results. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine you're trying to start a business alone. You have good ideas, but you're handling everything yourself. Marketing, sales, product development, customer service. It's overwhelming. Progress is slow. You feel stuck. Now imagine you bring in one or two trusted partners, someone who knows marketing, someone with technical skills, someone with experience in your industry. Suddenly, things move faster. Ideas spark new ideas. Problems get solved quicker. That's the power of a mastermind alliance. Hill tells us that when two or more people come together in a spirit of harmony and work toward a common goal, they create a third mind, a shared energy field where creativity and insight flow more freely. He gives the example of Andrew Carnegie, who surrounded himself with a team of 50 men who worked together for years. Carnegie credited his success not just to his own intelligence, but to the combined wisdom and effort of his group. Here's how he puts it. No individual may have great power without also having access to the power of a mastermind alliance. Now, here's our reflection question for you. Who are the people I currently surround myself with, and how do they influence my thinking and results? Because the truth is, you become like the people you spend time with. If you want to grow, choose your circle carefully. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're launching a coaching program. You're confident in your knowledge, but you're struggling with branding and marketing. Instead of trying to figure it all out alone, you form a small mastermind group, maybe a designer, a copywriter, and a fellow coach. Together, you brainstorm ideas, refine your offer, and build a launch strategy. Within weeks, you attract your first paying clients, not because you did it alone, but because you tapped into the collective genius of your group. That's how the mastermind works. One final insight from this chapter. Hill emphasizes that the mastermind must be based on harmony, not ego. This means choosing people you trust, who share your values, and who are willing to support each other without competition or jealousy. And remember, your mastermind doesn't need to be huge. Even 2 or 3 committed individuals can make a massive difference. Before we move on, let's recap. The mastermind multiplies your mental and emotional power. It's created through harmonious alliances with people who support your goals. Great leaders don't succeed alone. They build strong teams. Your environment shapes your mindset, so choose your circle wisely. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, who are the people I should connect with to help me grow
11,
faster?
The mystery of sex transmutation, the 10th step on your path to riches. This is one of the most misunderstood chapters in Think and Grow Rich. At first glance, it may seem like a discussion about biology or relationships, but Napoleon Hill is talking about something deeper, the energy behind human drive, creativity, and ambition. Sexual energy, when properly understood and redirected, becomes a powerful force for achievement. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine a river flowing freely, strong, and wild, and full of potential. If left unchecked, it can flood and destroy. But if harnessed through a dam, that same energy becomes electricity, fueling entire cities. That's what transmutation means. It's taking a natural instinct, sexual energy, and transforming it into a higher form of energy, creative power, focus, and drive. Hill tells us that sex desire is the strongest human motive. It's more powerful than hunger,
fear, or even the desire for self-preservation. And when this energy is channeled correctly, it fuels genius, leadership, and extraordinary persistence. Here's how he puts it. Sex transmutation is the substitution of spiritual or mental energy for physical expression. Now, here's a reflection question for you. How do I currently use or experience my inner drive, whether emotional, physical, or creative? Are you allowing that energy to scatter, or are you directing it toward meaningful goals? Because the energy is there. The question is, what are you building with it? Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're working on launching a new product. You're excited, focused, and motivated. That surge of energy, clarity, and determination isn't random. It's raw, creative power. It comes from the same source as passion, romance, and attraction. But instead of expressing it physically, you channel it into your work. You write better copy. You create stronger designs. You push through late nights without burnout. That's sex transmutation in action. One final insight from this chapter. Hill says that great leaders, artists, inventors, and visionaries often unknowingly practice sex transmutation. Their intense drive, charisma, and productivity come from redirecting this powerful energy into their life's work. He also notes that this principle works best when combined with faith, imagination, and autosuggestion. When your mind and body are aligned around a purpose, your performance reaches a whole new level. Before we move on, let's recap. Sexual energy is one of the most powerful forces within us. Transmutation means redirecting that energy into creativity, leadership, and persistence. This is not about suppression. It's about elevation. And when mastered, this energy fuels genius, magnetism, and unstoppable drive. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, how can I harness mighty inner energy more effectively?
Welcome
to
to
fuel
Chapter
my
12,
goals and
The
ambition?
Subconscious Mind, the 11th step on your path to riches. So far, we've built a powerful foundation: desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, decision, persistence, and the mastermind. Now it's time to explore the hidden force that connects them all: your subconscious mind. This is where thoughts become things, where belief shapes reality, and where your deepest habits, emotions, and behaviors come from. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine you're sailing a boat across the ocean. On the surface, you see the wind, the waves, and the sky. These are like your conscious thoughts. But beneath the surface, there's an entire world you can't see. Currents, deep water, unseen forces that determine where the boat really goes. That's what the subconscious mind is like. It works behind the scenes, shaping your actions, feelings, and results, often without you even realizing it. Napoleon Hill tells us that the subconscious mind absorbs whatever thoughts you feed it, whether positive or negative. That means if you repeat doubt, fear, or failure to yourself, your subconscious starts working against you. But if you feed it faith, desire, and clear goals, it becomes your most powerful ally. Here's how he puts it. Your subconscious mind will translate into reality the picture you give it through thought. Now, here's a reflection question for you. What messages have I been feeding my subconscious lately? Are they empowering or limiting? Are they helping you move forward or holding you back? Because whatever you repeat most often, your subconscious believes and makes real in your life. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario.
Say you're trying to build confidence in public speaking. Consciously, you want to do well. You prepare, practice, and show up. But deep inside, your subconscious holds old fears, maybe a memory of being laughed at school, or a voice telling you you're not good enough. Those buried beliefs cause anxiety, shaky delivery, and self-doubt. But what happens when you start replacing those old thoughts with new ones? When you use auto-suggestion to tell yourself, I am calm, I am confident, I speak clearly and powerfully. Over time, your subconscious accepts this new message and your performance changes. That's the power of reprogramming your mind. One final insight from this chapter. Hill says that the sixth sense, which we'll explore soon, comes from the connection between your conscious and subconscious mind. When you learn to communicate effectively with your subconscious, using desire, faith, and imagination, you open the door to intuition, creativity, and higher guidance. Before we move on, let's recap. The subconscious mind is the hidden engine behind your behavior. It absorbs thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, and it turns them into reality. Positive input leads to empowering results. Negative input leads to struggle. Reprogramming your subconscious mind takes time, repetition, and consistency. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, what habit, fear, or belief do I want to change? And what new thought
Welcome to
should I
Chapter
replace
13,
it
The Brain, the 12th step on your path to riches. So far, we've explored powerful principles like desire, faith, autosuggestion, and the subconscious mind. Now, we're diving into the physical instrument through which all these forces operate, the human brain. Napoleon Hill describes the brain as a receiver and transmitter of thought. It's not just a biological organ, it's the interface between your conscious mind and the invisible world of ideas, energy, and influence. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Think of your brain like a radio. You can tune in to different frequencies, positive or negative, empowering or limiting. Some thoughts come from within you, others from the people around you. But your brain doesn't distinguish between them. Whatever signal you focus on most often, that's what becomes your reality. That's why it's so important to control what you feed your brain through words, images, conversations, and experiences. Hill tells us that the brain is made up of two major parts. One, the conscious mind, responsible for reasoning, logic, decision-making. Two, the subconscious mind, where emotions, habits, and deep-seated beliefs live. These two work together constantly, and when aligned with purpose, they become a powerhouse of creativity, action, and success. Here's how he puts it. Thoughts are vibrations. Your brain is an instrument for both receiving and transmitting these vibrations. Now, here's a reflection question for you. What kind of mental diet am I feeding my brain? Are you filling it with uplifting content, inspiring conversations, and empowering goals? Or are you letting fear-based news, toxic relationships, and self-doubt take over? Because whatever you focus on most, your brain builds more of. That's why it's so important to control what you feed your brain through words, images, conversations, and experiences. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're trying to build confidence in public speaking. If you spend time watching TED Talks, practicing daily, and surrounding yourself with supportive people, your brain starts building new neural pathways. Over time, speaking in front of others becomes easier, even enjoyable. But if you surround yourself with critics, replay past failures, and consume content that says public speaking is terrifying, your brain reinforces those fears, making them feel like truth. That's how powerful your brain is. It believes what you tell it. Let's bring this down to earth. One final insight from this chapter. Hill talks about the concept of invisible counselors, people whose thoughts and energy continue to influence your mind long after they're gone. This could be a mentor, a parent, a friend, someone who shaped your thinking in a way that still echoes today. This means your brain isn't just influenced by the people around you now. It carries the legacy of those who helped shape your mindset. Let's recap. The brain is both a receiver and transmitter of thought vibrations. It works closely with the subconscious mind to shape your beliefs and actions. Your environment, media consumption, and relationships directly impact your brain's programming. You have the power to choose what thoughts you allow into your mind. As we wrap up this chapter, ask yourself, what one habit can I change starting today to improve the quality of thoughts
14,
entering my
the
brain?
sixth sense, the 13th step on your path to riches. So far, we've built a powerful foundation with desire, faith, autosuggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, decision, persistence, and the mastermind. Now we arrive at what Napoleon Hill calls the final key, the sixth sense. This isn't about supernatural powers or psychic abilities. It's about intuition, that inner voice, that sudden insight, that feeling you get when you're on the right track. Hill describes this as the gateway to genius, where your conscious and subconscious mind merge with something greater. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Think of your brain like a radio receiver. You tune in to different frequencies. Some come from logic, others from emotion, and some from pure instinct. That moment when everything clicks, when you suddenly know the answer without being able to explain how, that's your sixth sense speaking. It's not magic, it's mental clarity, sharpened by experience, belief, and alignment with purpose. Hill tells us that the sixth sense is developed through the mastery of all previous 13 principles. When you've trained your mind to focus desire, build faith, use autosuggestion, organize plans, make decisions, persist through challenges, and work in harmony with others, then intuition begins to flow naturally. Here's how he puts it. Genius is the result of the functioning of the sixth sense. Pause for 2 seconds. Now, here's a reflection question for you. When was the last time I had a strong gut feeling and acted on it? Did you trust it, or did you ignore it and wish later that you hadn't? Because intuition grows stronger the more you listen to it. Pause for 2 seconds. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Imagine you're deciding whether to take a new job offer. Logically, it checks out. Good salary, great benefits, solid company. But something inside you hesitates. There's an uneasy feeling you can't quite explain. You accept the offer anyway, and a few months later, you realize the culture doesn't fit, the leadership is unstable, and you regret the decision. That hesitation wasn't just fear. It was your sixth sense trying to guide you. Pause for 2 seconds. One final insight from this chapter. Hill says that the sixth sense often comes through moments of deep silence, when your mind is calm and open. This is why meditation, journaling, or even long walks can lead to sudden clarity. Your mind becomes still enough to hear the whisper beneath the noise. He also gives examples of people like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, men who credited their greatest breakthroughs not to logic alone, but to flashes of insight that came from beyond conscious thought. Pause for 2 seconds. Before we move on, let's recap. The sixth sense is intuition, refined and strengthened through disciplined thinking. It becomes active when all previous principles are mastered. It's not mystical, it's mental clarity, guided by belief, experience, and alignment. Listening to your inner guidance can prevent mistakes and unlock opportunities. Ask yourself, am I making space in my life to hear my inner voice, or am I drowning it out with noise and distraction?
How to Outwit the 6 Ghosts of Fear, the final chapter in our journey through Think and Grow Rich. This chapter is powerful because it addresses something that holds back more people than almost anything else: fear. Napoleon Hill tells us that all failure stems from one or more of 6 basic fears. These fears are like invisible ghosts lurking in the subconscious mind, whispering doubts, hesitation, and defeat. Today, you'll learn how to recognize them and how to banish them once and for all. Let me give you a real-life analogy. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a dark forest. You know there's treasure on the other side, success, freedom, happiness. But the forest is full of shadows, noises, and unknown dangers. The fear of what might be waiting stops many from even stepping forward. But here's the truth. Most of what we fear doesn't actually exist, or at least not in the way we imagine. And when we shine the light of understanding on fear, it loses its power. Hill identifies the 6 basic fears. 1. The fear of poverty, worry about money, lack of security. 2. The fear of criticism, concern about what others think. 3. The fear of ill health, anxiety over sickness or aging. 4. The fear of loss of love, being abandoned or rejected. 5. The fear of old age, dread of loneliness or uselessness. 6. The fear of death, uncertainty about what comes next. These fears feed on negative thinking, indecision, and procrastination. They sap your energy, cloud your vision, and block your path to success. Here's how Hill puts it. All achievement, all earned riches have their beginning in an idea. But ideas are timid, fragile things. Unless protected and nurtured, they die quickly. Fear is what kills those ideas. Now, here's a reflection question for you. 3. Which of these 6 fears shows up most often in my life? Don't rush your answer. Think about moments when you hesitated, doubted yourself, or avoided taking action. What were you afraid of? Because awareness is the first step to overcoming fear. 3. Let's bring this down to earth with a hypothetical scenario. Say you're considering starting your own business. You've got the desire, the plan, and the knowledge. But then you hear the voice inside say, "What if I fail?" That's fear of poverty speaking. Then another thought. What will my friends think if I quit my job? That's fear of criticism. And before long, the dream starts to fade. Not because it wasn't good, but because fear was allowed to take control. That's how fear works, quietly, subtly, until it stops you in your tracks. One final insight from this chapter. Hill says that fear can be replaced by faith, but only if you take deliberate steps to do so. He gives a powerful process. 1. Recognize the fear. 2. Understand where it comes from. 3. Replace it with a positive affirmation or action. 4. Take movement towards your goal, no matter how small. He also reminds us that the master key to overcoming fear is action. Every time you act in spite of fear, it weakens. Every time you hesitate, it grows stronger. Let's wrap up. 1. Fear is the root cause of most failure and frustration. 2. It takes many forms, but Hill identifies 6 common types. 3. Fear lives in the subconscious and thrives on inaction. 4. You can outwit fear by recognizing it, replacing it, and acting anyway. As we close this book, ask yourself, am I ready to stop letting fear decide my future and start writing my own story? 3. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You've just completed a transformative journey, one that has changed millions of lives. And now it's changing yours. Thank you for walking through Think and Grow Rich with me, chapter by chapter, principle by principle. Remember, thoughts become things. Belief becomes reality. Action creates results. Go out there and grow rich. The journey to riches begins within. Congratulations! You've just completed Think and Grow Rich, one of the most powerful success philosophies ever written. Napoleon Hill has given us more than just a book. He's handed down a blueprint for life, leadership, and lasting wealth. Each chapter has built on the last, leading you through a transformational journey from desire to decision, from faith to persistence, and finally to mastery over fear. These principles are not just theories, they're tools. Tools that have helped millions turn dreams into reality, failures into comebacks, and thoughts into tangible riches. Let me leave you with this analogy. Imagine your mind as fertile soil. Every idea, every principle you've learned in this book is a seed. Some seeds may already be sprouting, new habits, stronger beliefs, clearer goals. But others still need time, attention, and action to grow. Your job now is not to close this book and forget it, but to plant what you've learned. Nurture it, use it daily. Because knowledge alone doesn't change lives. Applied knowledge does. Here's a final reflection question for you. What is the one thing I will do differently starting today because of what I've learned? Will you write down your definite chief aim? Will you surround yourself with a mastermind? Will you face your fears head on? Whatever it is, take that step. Because the journey to riches doesn't begin with luck or circumstance. It begins with a choice, a decision. And you've already made it by finishing this book. As we wrap up, remember these truths. Thoughts become things, so choose them carefully. Desire fuels action, so make yours burning. Fear shrinks when faced, so don't run from it. And success is a process, so keep going. And above all, you already have everything you need within you. Thank you for walking this path with me. May you go forward with clarity, courage, and confidence. Now go out there, think, act, and grow rich. Not just in money, but in
value in this
purpose,
summary?
peace, and
Don't
power.
forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another life-changing idea. Also, leave a comment below. What's one principle from Think and Grow Rich that you're going to apply first? Remember, thoughts become things. And now you have the roadmap to turn those thoughts into results. Stay focused, stay persistent, and keep thinking and growing rich. Thanks for watching.